technological development and what HR is doing on the technological development, and exposure and diversity of thought. These are the three main takeaways as far as transformation is concerned. And I would just like to conclude it by saying there are so many things in HR that we all know that need to be done, and in technology there are so many apps, there is so many things that's happening. We must remember that every business is different. The business that he is in different than the business that I am in as an organization. We need to work very closely with the CEOs and the managing directors, because what is the solution for me? Broadly speaking, we all have the same challenges. But where will I invest and what do I invest in? Do I invest in an assessment center today or after 2 years? What could be relevant for me might not be relevant for him. So it is very important we work closely with the business leaders and define a plan, a 5-year plan, and see what technology you want to invest in terms of HR technology. And what are the key deliverables for which department? Even within a department, the deliverables could change. You might want to do assessment center for project management, but you don't feel the need to do it in engineering. So I think we have to adapt. It is a very uncertain climate, and whatever plan we have, it should fit into this uncertain environment. So I think I'll conclude it by saying that.
Thank you, Mr. Sahane. We'll just go through a very quick round of rapid fire questions, starting with Mr. Sahane. Only thing that the response has to be as brief as possible. Mr. Sahane, you spoke about leveraging technology. You also spoke about fast-tracking the people processes in terms of building their capabilities. When we talk about building capabilities, learning and development plays a very important role.
Yes.
So how do we juxtapose the technology and learning and development so that we can fast-track this process? Any experiences from your own organization?
Yeah, so basically talking about learning and development, gone are the days of doing the classroom trainings. We still do classroom trainings, but then you talked about technology. So in terms of L&D, everybody is on the web now, People want to learn on mobile phones, They don't want to read books. So what are you doing about it? From our organization standpoint, we have a corporate university that has got a program called iLearn, which, as the name suggests, with the I in front of learn, is an online training tool wherein employees can access different technical programs online, and they can be tested online. So the knowledge transfer can be tested after 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. And we have created quite a few apps wherein people are able to access on mobile phones, because this is where we are heading. And the new population that comes in, if you don't keep them engaged by doing some of these things, they will leave you, They will go to the Googles and Apples. I think we are still far off from the IT industry where they are, but I think we have to gradually reach there, and that's what we need to do in terms of L&D, use the right technology and use it in such a way that it is effective.
Thank you, Mr. Nikhil. Next question is to Mr. Jain. As we all know that the potential of hydro is only available in far and remote areas, and you being the major hydro, power major in hydro sector, I think one of the greatest challenge which you all face in some degree or the other, but it gets accentuated moment it comes to the organization like NHPC. So in terms of retaining and attracting talent at those remote locations, what kind of HR interventions or any innovations in this space that your company has undertaken, if you could share that?
See, as far as the HR interventions are concerned, like there have been many in the past, that whosoever is staying in a hard locations, there is a fixed tenure for the person. After staying in a hard location, there is a choice for going to a better place. There are facilities of retaining the house, there are more allowances. So all that is there, but irrespective of that, I'm finding that a lot of people who have been joining the organization in the new ones, the attrition rate is very high, because because as soon as a person comes in this organization, he's offered maybe a better. He's one of the good ones. He's offered a better place with a better location in some of the organization. So I mean, a lot of it has been done, but I feel one area, as I said, that there are certain things, if we start going to universities, start calling people and giving them training in our remote locations, maybe, I mean, it's a little different. Maybe people with love of nature, staying in smaller places, who have really a passion for working in that sort of work, if you are able to attract them and retain them, that will probably help.
I would also like to react to this.
Okay.
I'll also like to answer this question, because I am also in the hydro And our challenges are also for the people who are working in very, very remote areas. Recently, in HR, we have made 2-3 interventions that we have declared Best Employee of the Year awards we have introduced, and Best Performing Project of the Organization of the Year award also we have introduced, which has, these intangible awards are more important than the financial awards or the tangible awards, because people want recognition. And when we are calling people from places like Pithoragarh, giving them an award publicly, so really it has improved the motivation of the employees. And besides, we have also started, because the places are very, very close to nature. So those who are nature lovers, they also need some motivation. So for those who are interested in trekking and all, such kind of events and adventurous sports, so special packages has been worked out for them, that for they can expeditions also, they can undertake expedition which has been done by NIA and all that. So such activities we are promoting in the organization, so that even the people who are living in remote areas find them interesting.
Thank you, Mr. Joshi. In fact, it prompted me to ask one more question, that having worked in the public sector in different organizations who have a very professional HR management systems, from there to a state sector, where probably there is a huge scope for improving the HR activities and HR, promoting HR functions in that organizations. What kind of hurdles that you are, or impediments that you are countering in terms of promoting and initiating those HR practices or interventions?
You are very right. In fact, I have been cascading like a water, starting from NTPC to SJVN to THDC and then to state utility. Just like the flow of water, I have been rolling down. But so are the opportunities, because the place where HR is an unknown thing and people just do not know what the potential the HR policies and practices are. Recently we introduced one more thing, that we sponsored our best engineers for an MBA with IIMs. So it was a really very, very different HR initiative, and those people who are working in remote areas, when they heard that they will be getting a degree from IIM, so it was a very, very big motivator. Let me tell you, sir, in state, it is very, very difficult to formulate policies. But if you have a very, very good and positive management, then it is very easy to formulate new policies. Because we do not have very hard and fast structures. Organizations like NTPC and Power Grid, I think it is difficult for introducing new things, because already a lot of things are in place. New proposal comes in कि पुराना examine करो पहले, ये लाओ वो लाओ, so examination में बहुत time लग जाता है. In 5 days, I have sponsored people to IIM. So, because since a lot of things are not there, and I have got a clean slate. So that gives me the opportunity to write new statements. So I am finding the kind of challenge which I am facing, definitely I feel that in the morning, Shai Saab also has said that there is a time now has come for organizations like NTPC to keep its association with the state electricity boards also, because they are the major players today in the generation of power. And if they are left in the dark, even if NTPC surges ahead, it will be very difficult in the times to come.
Thank you, Avinash, for your response, and I hope that this lower base, where you can bring about any interventions, can bring about improvements, will be a great excitement for the organization as a whole, and particularly for a person who is really driving those changes. Now, coming to Dr. Asha Bhandarkar, I think she has done extensive studies into the behavior and the kind of impact which the millennials are going to create at the workplace. And as we all know, each one of the organizations where we are sitting on the dais or off the dais, I think each one is seeing a large number of millennials getting into the workforce. So they have a different aspirations, expectations, and profiling. At the same time, there is a DNA of the organizations which also have baby boomers and people like old timers who are used to certain sets of functioning with certain mindsets. Now, typically looking at the organizations where they don't differentiate based on the age, their HR policies and strategies, how in this kind of one-size-fits-all approach kind of organization in terms of their HR policies, how do they address this issue of millennials, which is distinctly different from the common workforce at large?
So I did make a point earlier which I would like to just elaborate. I think it's about mindset when we talk of Gen X and Gen Y. And the mindset leads to the expectations and behavior. So I would say that the mindset of being partners is very, very important, which means I give some, you give some. Both of us are in it together. So Gen X has something to give Gen Y, and Gen Y has something to give Gen X. So some kind of a system by which you are pairing people in a formal or informal way, by which there is scope to understand each other and mutually mentor. Why talk of one-way mentoring or even reverse mentoring? Mutual mentoring, I think, is the order of the day. I think that's how relationships are built, and I think ultimately it's those relationships which are going to work in the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. My next question to Jayant, a very brief response. As we all know that Tata Power, being one of the oldest in terms of hydropower, I think you believe you are the first organization in the country to set up hydropower stations. You also have very cutting-edge technology, set up 4,000 megawatts of Mudra with ultra supercritical technology, the state-of-the-art technology. You also have mixture of old and new, both. And you are a major power integral company, where you have interest not only in generation, but also in transmission, distribution, and even in logistics. So, such a wide portfolio of business, and being at the helm of HR, could you please share with us one of your flagship HR interventions, which you feel is most significant in terms of mentioning it with and sharing with HR professionals in this room?
So, I'm afraid there is not one, there are many. I will have to really think as to which one I share with the audience as the most flagship. But there are 2, 3 very quickly, because there is a time pressure, I understand. So very quickly, 2, 3 things that can, if it can help. One is that we are 100+ years old organization. When we started, last 100 years, this company has not seen red. And there is a huge element of pride. It's not easy, 100 years long run, and then you manage in being in private sector, managing such level of complexity. So, the confluence of left brain approach in the organization versus right brain approach, that confluence has gone into the DNA. And at psychic level, so when it comes to business analytics, taking business calls, so on and so forth, extremely high level of depth in applying the left brain approach. When it comes to people, then having right brain kind of approach. That happens across the level, right from the top to bottom. However, the policies will be there, which are applicable to all, from fairness and justice and those kind of things. Very, very important that those kind of things are there. When it comes to taking a call for an individual where exception has to be made, organization will not shy away. I think that is very great, because somewhere, somehow, being in HR all through my career, I have a sense of guilt that we have converted people into numbers. Today, all the decisions that we take based on Excel sheet models and how do we take and what is the equation, this, that, intrinsically we know what we are talking. Somewhere that individuality, that HR had a cutting edge of being in touch with the people and being close to them, understanding at n is equal to 1 level, that is going away. More so because of the digital applications. It is keeping us away from that. So consciously we have taken a call, we will not lag behind in digital and other things. Obviously we will have SAP, ERP, everything is there. But we will also not lose the touch with the people, because I think that is connect with them. So connect program, that is where I was leading you to, that we have a very formal connect program, and we are saying, I don't know whether we can claim that that is our nurturing intervention. We have not named it that way, but a very, very formal connect program we have run, which means that connect at all level of the organization. So the human organization should not get lost because of the digital and technology enablement, while being in the forefront of the cutting edge technology. So that has been one of the things that I think I will put across.
Thanks, Jayant. I think we have very aptly mentioned that for HR, people have to be more than the mere numbers. And when you talk about connecting them, it is the communication through which you drive the commitment and their culture in an organization.
If you can give me 1 more minute, not more than a minute. The other thing that in terms of strength, that so far the development in people development has been around gap finding, that training need identification, training need fulfillment and measurement. That is the cycle that is followed. In Tata Power, typically we have, for quite some time now, our belief is that instead of a gap-based approach, in people development, we should look at a strength-based approach. So we try to find out what is the innate strength of this person. Can we find out at n is equal to 1 level, and can we build upon that? So that is very bucking the trend. We are very different from the rest of the thing where you identify the gap and what is there and you build the entire thing. So our approach at individual level is to finding out the God's gift to that human being, and can we really disproportionately grow that. That is one thing which is very profound.
Thank you, Jan, for sharing this initiative. Now I will leave this floor open for any question hour. If you can be very brief in your question, and if you can direct the questions to the panelists who are sitting on the dais, that will help and ease my job. Can somebody help in?
It may not necessarily be a question. The major problem is we ask a rabbit to fly and bird to run. So one mantra you all remember, never ask a rabbit to fly and bird to run. Because every human being has got DNA. Do you know the DNA of human beings? That is one question which I would like to say. Do we know our people? We know the machines very well. Do we know our people? That is one question which I would like to ask. Remember one thing. Though in the morning, I virtually attacked the CMDs, that they are the biggest HR people. If they don't permit, HR can't flourish, you know that. It was a question to the CEOs that give us the commitment that you are going to be. But I would also like to say one thing. HR people must get away. HR stands Hamara Raj. Most of the HR people are the great chess players. And Saptarishi, you know about my views. Get out from the chess players, who should be promoted, who should not be promoted, all kinds of things. Because HR people, persuading people, influencing CEOs, it's a basic responsibility of HR people. And I think that it needs a very different kind of competency among the HR people. Since the HR people are sitting here, and I know about Siemens, I know about Bayer, even I know about the power grid. I also know about the NTPC. People at the senior manager level or deputy manager level, they brought tremendous amount of changes because they wanted to have the change. And the last point which I would like to say, people don't leave the organization. It's a myth. People leave people. People leave their bosses. In fact, in 2007, one study was conducted. 81% people, they left the organization. And when they were asked the question, why you leave the organization, he said, I don't want to work with that fellow. Because there are two people that can make our life miserable. Bosses. Bosses in the house, bosses in the organization, you know that. I think that bosses must be mentored. How to mentor people, actually, those who work with them. Mentoring is the biggest issue. In Saptarishi, you know about it. In America, we asked a question that how much time you guys spend in mentoring, counseling, and guidance. All your people said, hell of time. And subsequently, we did research work. People don't spend even 5% time in counseling and guidance. We talk about people development. I think that these are some very critical questions. And I think that Saptarishi, you are going to initiate a movement. I hope that these are some of the questions we should focus on that. So this was just a suggestion.
Thank you, sir. We can't afford to ask, the kind of insight that you gave, knowing the people, identifying the talent, and also mentoring, and even creating an environment where the leaders are taught how to mentor. I think these are some of the things which will help immensely the HR fraternity who are present over here. Yeah. Any other views? Yeah.
Yeah, one aspect which has been actually slightly, it has come to my imagination and also bothering me, is that I envisage that about 8 to 10 years of time, people, particularly those in the mid of teens now, will be probably not seeing in their residential and commercial complexes, this kind of power supply from a particular substation or things like that. What I'm envisaging is they'll be having their own mini grid or micro grids, and that will be supplying the power to the complex. In that kind of scenario, definitely our power sector will be, some people will become redundant. Okay, how do we cope up with this kind of thing? Okay. So this is a thought one I had. Second is, which Mr. Nikhil Shania also said, somewhere we need to think, in fact in my previous organization, I had to really deliberate and rather to some extent debate a lot with my technical leaders, that the time has now come that particularly when we are facing a gap in talent in terms of senior and the junior people,